We take this water with us everywhere we go. We've been buying it for 6 or 7 years. The reason we drink this water is because it's got a higher pH balance. And so I don't want to go on like the entire scientific reason behind drinking high pH water, but basically it's good for your body. A lot of people that have had diseases and cancer and things like that, they found their pH level to be acidic. And this counteracts that. Drinking water like this, or also eating foods that raise your pH level and things like that. Okay, so when I was younger, I was about 2 or 3 years old, I had a pretty intense surgery. I had my spleen removed, but that was tied to a lot of other problems. I was diagnosed with this thing called chronic ITP. So chronic ITP is a condition where your body produces these antibodies that attack your blood platelets, and your platelets are what help you, when you get a little cut and a little like a white thing forms around that stops the bleeding, those are your platelets. So my body was attacking my platelets, which meant that my platelet count got really low whenever I got sick. And I was, if I just got like bumped with something, it could cause internal bleeding, which I did experience internal bleeding as an adult. I guess you could say I was about 17 or 18 years old. So I pretty much struggled with chronic ITP my whole life, and in order to bring my platelet count back up, I would have to take steroids, which the ones that I had to take were prednisone, which I did lightly mention in a past like what I eat in a day video, which by the way, I know I called it an antibiotic in that video, but it was just like an honest mistake. I know it was a steroid. I've taken steroids my whole life, but I also took it in conjunction with antibiotics. Anytime I would get really sick, it was always like a big deal. So even when I had the chicken pox as a child, I had to be hospitalized. Whenever I had like a cold, a common cold for me would lower my platelets, so I would be more sick than the average child. So I was very sick growing up. Well, I ended up having a pretty bad relapse when I was about 19. Maybe I was like 18 or 19. It was like in my adolescent years, which you guys know when you're that age, body image is a huge issue. So I was put on steroids and I gained a lot of weight. It definitely, I was depressed because of it. I didn't want to leave the house. I would cry all the time because I just felt like so. On top of that, I mean, I know there's like an actual chemical reaction that happens with your brain when you're taking those type of medications. But on top of that, the weight was just really bad. So I got better. I actually ended up getting really sick in Panama. That's where I had my relapse while I was visiting my family there, and I ended up having to go to the ER and getting hospitalized in Panama. When I came to the US, I had to get treatment. So I was in the hospital, I believe it was like 5 days a week on it, like attached to an IV for anywhere, I think it was like 3 hours a day. Oh gosh, I don't remember how many hours, but I was in the same room as people that were taking chemotherapy and things like that. The treatment wasn't working. My platelet count kept dropping and dropping. And they wanted to do, what was it called? They wanted to do a spinal testing. I think it's called a spinal tap. I'm not sure, but basically you take a huge needle and they extract like spinal fluid out of your spine. I'm probably butchering it, but some of you guys may know what I'm talking about. And I said absolutely not. Like I had a fear of needles as it was, and I was having to get this needle injected into my arm every day. So then another option was getting a thing that it was like open. They cut you open and put a little machine that was inside of your body that injected medication all the time. And I said absolutely not to that too. Like I was just terrified of having anything like permanent in my body, We went to a different doctor and they told us that we got a different opinion, and that doctor told us that as long as I kept my platelet number above a certain amount, that I was okay and I could still live normally. I just couldn't do like crazy stuff like play sports or anything where I could get a really bad injury. So we kind of went with that. Also, by the way, like when your platelets drop, if you get anything as little as like like if you were to bump your head, for example, you could start bleeding internally, and there's nothing, you have no platelets to stop the bleeding. So that's why it's dangerous. I'm probably doing such a terrible job of explaining this, but I went the next like 3 years just kind of like coasting again, going back to only getting sick once a year and being hospitalized. And then I met my husband when I was 22 years old, and one of the first gifts, because I had my own apartment at the time, one of the first gifts he gave me was a case of this water, and he kept it at my apartment, and he told me, drink this. And I don't think he even knew like how sick I was at the time. I think he just knew that I would get sick a lot, but not like to what degree. So I started drinking this water, and his dad knew a lot about it. His dad kind of took me through, like explained to me what your body's pH level is, why you have to keep it high, why it's bad for your body when it's acidic. And of course, back when I used to be sick all the time, I didn't know how to properly eat. Like, I didn't know what type of foods I should be eating. I didn't know that I was supposed to be drinking water like this. I didn't know any of that, you know? So they educated me on that. I started doing a lot more research. I started changing my diet, eating. I've always loved vegetables, but it wasn't something that I ate all the time. Like, I was somebody that would go to like McDonald's and get an extra large fry, and that would be my lunch. You know, like I was just so bad at eating well. So I got educated, and I kid you not, you guys, that whole year, the first year that I met my husband, I didn't get hospitalized at all, not once. To this day, I can't remember the last time I've gotten sick to the point where I've had to go to the hospital. The only time I get sick now is when there's seasonal allergies, which is like the cedar and pollen. That I'm still trying to figure out how I can beat that, but I'm sure if I come up with something, I'll be a millionaire. My camera totally overheated, which means I've been talking for way too long. So I just want to wrap things up by saying it's not just this water that has a high pH level. This is just like the most popular right now, but there's an easy way to figure out if the water that you're drinking has a high pH level. You can just Google it. You want to look for waters that have a pH level of 7 and above. So this one has a pH level of 9.5. Anything below 7 is considered acidic. There's other brands. I know, like when we don't have this, I'll drink Fiji. Fiji also has, I think their pH level is 7.5. I might be wrong, but I will leave a link down below if you guys want to look more into it. I 1,000% attribute the fact that I got better and the fact that I haven't gotten sick to a high pH level. My body is no longer acidic, so it's able to stay healthy. It's able to fight off disease. And when I'm not drinking a lot of water, I definitely notice a difference. Same thing with my husband. Okay, I just wanted to share that with you guys in case any of you guys are struggling with your health. Try switching over to an alkaline water. I know it's going to be more expensive, but your health is definitely worth investing in, because really, what's the point of working so hard if you're not healthy enough to enjoy your life? So just wanted to share that with you guys.